Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and renowned guests, noble participants from around the globe. Welcome to the international webinar on advancing accountability and human rights by strengthening international justice for minority communities. I am Zehra, and it is my pleasure to serve as your host for today's event. Before we dive into a rich discussion and insight, let me introduce our esteemed panel of experts who will bring their knowledge and expertise on this vital topic. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Cynthia Stephen, Dr. Abhay Kumar, Mr. Asif Aqeel, and Ms. Pushpa Kumari. Today, we are gathered with a common purpose to address the pressing issues of accountability and human rights concerning minority communities in our collective responsibilities to forecast a world where justice prevails for all, regardless of their background. Without further ado, I will invite Cynthia Stephen. She is a Dalit activist, writer, social policy researcher, journalist from India. She will shed some light on this crucial subject. Thank you for joining. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for inviting me to join this esteemed panel. It's my pleasure. And it is indeed important for us as activists and those concerned for peace and justice to think together on how people that we work with, the communities that we work with, the international community, and the common people in general, citizens, enjoy the important public goods of peace and justice. And in a context at this point where there are many hotspots of war and disturbances across the world, for instance, the Ukrainian crisis, there's conflagrations going on in France, and also in India. Right here in India, we have had an ongoing situation in a border state in the northeast called Manipur. And so there are many difficult situations. And in Manipur in particular, I would say that definitely there are issues of identity, minorities, religion, and so on. And so there are many concerns that people like us who are involved in human rights and justice issues that we feel in how to make our governments responsive. In the recent past, the government of India has always had an uneasy relationship with an uneasy relationship with civil society. But now, so the situation is such that there is a lot of concern among international civil society as well as local civil society activists about the way in which government has been handling these situations. I just, as I was thinking through what to present and how to go about this, it was important for me to think, because in India in particular, I'm particularly speaking about the Indian context. The government of India has always been quick to respond and dismiss many of the critiques that have come both internally and from outside about their various actions of whether it is of omission or commission in such contexts. But I was struck to read just a few minutes ago while I was thinking and preparing about the European Parliament. As many might know, the Prime Minister of India is making a state visit to France, and there is a parade, on Bastille Day, which is a very important day in the history of the world, not just in France, and he is said to be the chief guest. In such a context, the European Parliament, Bastille Day in France, has invited, France has invited him to be the chief guest on Bastille Day in France. But the European Parliament has decided to debate a resolution on the way the government of India has handled the Manipur situation. And so they have 6 parties of various kinds across the range, from left to right. All the some 6 European parties have filed a draft resolution, which is going to be debated in the European Parliament, and they're going to the idea is to pass an urgent resolution. Now you can imagine, what that means for a country like India. So, if any of us have had experience going to the UN, the people in the UN always place the Indian the capacity of the Indian state and its diplomats at a very high level. They always say it's very difficult to tackle the diplomats of India. But at this point, the government of India has actually hired a lobby lawyers group to lobby the European Parliament. On the grounds that there's going to be a free trade agreement, and so they have there are some trade relationships that are going to be built up, and the government of India is eager that these resolutions not be taken up, and so on. So there's an attempt to lobby the European Parliament not to take the resolution. So this is an indication that in international societies, international community has begun to take cognizance of human rights abuses that they have seen. In particular, as I said, the parties that have sponsored this resolution are ranging from the left to the right. So where the right parties are concerned, they are raising issues of, religion. Where the left parties are concerned, they're talking about access to resources and so on, and ethnic identities. So it is certainly one of the big options that we can have to talk about accountability. So even to lobby the international community could be the entities like the UN, multilateral bodies like the UN or the European Union is a very good opportunity or an option in case people want to raise these issues and promote the justice and accountability even within a democracy. See, the point is about, though there is this understanding that India is the world's largest democracy, and it has a very vibrant democracy. Its elections are held regularly, and so on. That is only partly true, in the sense that it is true that elections are held. It is true that we are a very large country whose governments are selected by elections, but the quality of that governance, or the quality of the elections, the quality of the people leading the government, are they democratic in their functioning? Are the elections truly fair? Because the issue of election funding is there. So immediately the issue of accountability comes. And often even the government of India talks about foreign interests interfering with political interests in India. So I think under the circumstances, a sense of accountability has to be upheld. And that can only happen when when democratic institutions, constitutional institutions like the judiciary, like the Election Commission of India, like the Parliament, all of them, and within the Parliament there are many subcommittees which are cutting across many party lines, but take up certain issues. I think all these groups need to maintain their independence, and the opposition parties have a big role to play in upholding the rules of democracy. The judiciary has the most crucial role to play, and more than anything, the people, because in a democracy there is no room for violence or authoritarianism. And under the circumstances, when all these are also being put into play with little response, I think the European Union's example of raising the debate within the European Parliament and the threat, if you like, of passing a resolution, I think it's a very very notable and remarkable international response. And so even the government of India, which famously turns a deaf ear and Nelson's eye to protests, have been forced to respond through legal, through a legal firm. They have not used their diplomats. It is an interesting development. I need to go, I was wondering about that. And so this is what I would like to say. Since I think there is limited time, I will thank you very much for your patience and for giving me the platform. And I hand the platform back to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Cynthia. Stephen, your insight helped us to grasp the complexity of the challenges faced by minority communities. Now it's time to move forward and explore potential solutions. In our second session, we are having the privilege of having Dr. Abhay Kumar with us today. He is a writer, journalist, and teaching politics and Urdu. He has the expertise of minority right and social justice. He will share his expertise on this method. So, Dr. Abhay Kumar, the floor is all yours. Please unmute yourself.
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I thank South Asian Research Institute for Minorities for holding this discussion on advancing accountability and human rights by strengthening international justice for minority communities. This topic is very much legal, and I must accept it, must confess it that I do not know much about this area, but I study political science, I teach political science. So I would like to speak on this issue from my own reading, my own subject. And here I would like to talk about how sovereignty, human rights, nationalism, and the questions of minorities, and also the role of international bodies are very important in addressing the questions of minorities and attacks on them, and what is wrong with these institutions where they have failed us. So I would like to speak on the political aspect of this topic, that how to use international courts and tribunals and legal remedies for addressing minority communities. So this is the main topic, but I'll speak from political science point of view. First of all, we have to keep in mind that a state in post-globalized world is becoming very, very strong. There may be other scholars who would argue that a state has weakened because the international organization and also global multinational companies, they are influencing the decision. This is true, that cannot be done away with, but it is also a fact that a state is using the issue of national security in a big way, and it is going against the rights of minority communities. So what is happening, that in the name of sovereignty and national security, the space to speak against the atrocities, the space to seek legal remedies within within the nation or outside the national boundary, that is being that is shrinking, and that is a very big concern. And I think I'll speak to you about Indian experience. Sovereignty, you could ask me that what is sovereignty? It could be defined in multiple ways. There are multiple definitions, but I would like to define sovereignty in a very simple way. Sovereignty means that a state is supreme within the nation-state boundaries it can make laws, and international organizations or other nation states, they would not interfere in the domestic matters of the state. This is broadly sovereignty. And what is happening, that nation state, not only in India but in other parts of world also, they are turning more and more majoritarian because of the internal crisis. Economy is not doing well, so somehow they have to keep people divided, and they easily pick up majoritarian card, and they go out to demonize minority communities. So what is happening, that if Muslims or Christians or Dalit or women or working classes, if they are being attacked, these attacks, or if their rights are being taken back by the state, these things are being justified in the name of national security, in the name of sovereignty, in the name of national interest. And the moment somebody would raise this question, oh, something is very bad, this is not fair, we should speak against that. And when in this today's social media world, where globe is very much connected, when this issue is raised, when this issue becomes prominent, and when the government feels that now it is being criticized, they invoke the idea of sovereignty, and they play the card of nationalism. And it is being argued by the state media that particular sections of people are speaking against the national interest, and several countries are using those narratives to attack India. So this has been seen in last couple of years, particularly since 2014, after the coming of Hindu right-wing government. And I would like to take you 2-3 years back in India, when some Hindu right MP made very derogatory comments against Arab men, and when it became a big issue, and also in some cases where Prophet Muhammad has been Prophet Muhammad and some symbols of Islam, if when these things were attacked, and when these issues become very prominent, and when these were being debated, so the government, instead of addressing those concerns, giving protection to minorities, or taking actions against those who are using inflammatory language against the weaker section, the government choose very easy method to say that minorities and or leftists, they are anti-nationals, they try to internationalize the issue, and somehow particularly Muslims are being attacked, that they seek support of people sitting in the Arab world. So somehow what is happening, that the legitimate rights of the weaker section to speak against the atrocities, these are being taken back in the name of nationalism, in the name of security, in the name of national interest. And that is big issue. We know that international organizations, they are committed to sovereignty also, and also the human rights of the people also. For example, if you look at United Nations Charter, it says, it promises very clearly that it will promote international cooperations in the economic, social, cultural, educational, and health fields, and assisting in the realization of human rights and fundamental rights for all, without distinctions to the race, sex, language, and religion. So the UN and international bodies, including legal bodies, they are fundamentally committed to human rights and no discrimination based on race, sex, language, religion, anything else. So national sovereignty cannot be sacrosanct. If minorities are being attacked, they can speak. But what is happening, that majoritarian government is seen in most part of the world. minorities are attacked, not only India, but in other parts of world also. So why they are not getting justice? Why international bodies, they have not been able to address this issue? That is also a big concern. Somehow international bodies, how they are being funded, where they are located, who are influencing their decision, these are also major concerns. And that is why we see that while United Nations and its allied bodies, they are committed to the rights of minorities and rights of human being, but somehow they do not speak. Why they do not speak? Because some major powers are influencing their decisions. And why major powers are not speaking against human rights? Because the track record of major powers on human rights is also not very satisfactory. And in regions like India or in South Asia, they have major business interest. So what is happening? That as far as human rights bodies is concerned, they speak against atrocities, they speak against attacks on minorities. But when it comes to taking any substantive decision, even the international organizations, they have not done justice to minority community. And this is, I find, I believe, and I find that this is a very vicious cycle, that while constitution gives rights to minority community, to weaker section, the same rights are being eroded, or some of them are being taken back in the name of what should I say, national security, sovereignty. International bodies, their responsibility is to stand with the people across the globe wherever any human rights violation is happening. They also do not try to see that their statements, their concerns are implemented into actions, because they are being funded by some major powers, and major powers are more interested in serving their own business interests than protecting the rights of minority. So these are big concerns, and I think people across the region, they must come together to forge larger solidarity. People in the east, people in the west, everywhere, we have to come together to speak against attacks on people, on minorities, wherever, anywhere it is happening. And we also need to go beyond, to rise above our immediate identity, to overcome our linguistic what should I say, understanding, and truly stand with human beings, and we must defend their human rights. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you very much. Your views provide a foundation for forecasting positive change in the field of justice and accountability. Next, I would like to invite Asif Aqeel. He is a journalist, researcher, and deputy director of Central for Law and Justice, Pakistan. Thank you for joining us. The virtual stage is yours.
Sarim, I'm glad that you take this topic every now and then. My understanding about the current situation is that we have talked a lot, and people like us, me, Dr. Abhay, and others, things are not changing, and things are getting worse, actually. Everyone is concerned with his or her own liberties. I am very much okay living in Pakistan, that whatever is happening to Muslims in India, that's perfectly fine. And I am very much concerned about the Christians living in some other part of the world. Same is with Muslims. They are very much concerned about the people in Palestine, in Kashmir. But then they are not concerned with the Christians living in Pakistan. So the same states which Dr. Abhay has just finished, they are very much keen to point out violations of human rights of other countries. So this is hypocrisy. This is not just in the states, but this is at every level. My blood, does it really boil when I see Muslims being grilled in India? Or is it just the Pakistani Christians I am concerned with, if as I come from the Pakistani Christian community? So what I see is that everyone talking about international laws, but only from the perspective of their own community or their own gender or their own whatever the lens they are using. Uh, um, as I have always said, and I'll keep raising it up, my blood really boils when I see Muslims in India being badly treated. And this is not just for the sake of giving a statement and trying to be the politically correct type of things. So NGOs all are also into this politically correct type of things. What I see clearly that there is very pick and choose among the NGOs and defenders of human rights. For example, the Indian Muslims, they are very much concerned about their own, and they should be, they must be. And their blood is really boiled when they see things in Palestine. But do they really feel pain for the Christians being mistreated in Pakistan? And do they really think about them? Do they apply the same lens of injustice and social justice and inequality to the Pakistani Hindus as well? And this is where all the problem lies. From the state level to the individual human rights defenders. So we are very selective. And that's why we all like to live in our own bubble. We are all just trying to protect, even Alit Shia protecting Alit Shi. Brailvis are caring for the Brailvi. Uh, the Muslims living in India, coming from the Shafia, they are thinking about the Shafia. And the Muslims who are from Dr. Abhay is representing them. So I think this needs to change. And why it needs to change? Because the world has now become a global village. And in this global village, we cannot survive in our bubbles. I very much not just condemn, I really disapprove and I hate that somebody did something in Sweden. And that's one person, and this is their law that allowed. Millions of such incidents take place against Christians, Hindus. In Pakistan, the statue of Sikh community, Raja Ranjit Singh, that was broken. How much was their noise? How much was their voice? Was it coming from Indian Muslims? Was it coming from Christians living in Pakistan? So I'm just pointing out the hypocrisy or the double standards, or so this world will remain divided, fighting. And you can see it like we, the Christians, are no more offended by these acts of like burning the Bible, but definitely people at my level, but at those who are, you can say, I don't want to say they are less educated, but those who are regularly going to church, they get offended. While when the Sweden's flag is burned, Sweden is not giving us any nationality to Pakistanis. They actually dislike giving nationality or even visas to Christians because they know they'll get there and they can easily settle. But then that flag has cross, which is the most sacred symbol for the Pakistani, not just Pakistani, for Muslims or for Christians, across the globe. How many Muslims have actually disapproved it? You see, no, I don't see any Muslims coming out and saying this, that, see, we want to condemn Sweden and we want to condemn that person. So it means this all is we are living in our own bubbles. We think about international human rights treaties and laws only when it is protecting our country, only our sovereignty or our nationalism and the people of our faith across the globe. So I'm saying that this is not going to work. This is a global village. Now the cables are connected. I am really feel it is not letting me sleep seeing a man in India urinating on a person coming from the Dalit community, and he was abusing to the level that is too humane level. Have we seen that any outrage on that? What is that? Is there any more thing that we can see? So what I see is that we all are living in our bubbles. We all are just condemning the things which are directly linked with us. So I think as long as we are not getting out of this situation and not, and I think that respecting religions is we are actually, that statement is actually half baked for me. We know how much we respect other religions. So more important is this, we know that actually inside ourselves, we know what we know and what we think. So this is all is politically correct. Rather, I should say that I respect religion, what Dr. Abhay believes in. I respect the religion, what our esteemed speaker Pushpa Kumari believes in. So it is like respecting human beings. We are not talking about human dignity. We are not talking how other people's sentiment are tarnished and ransacked. So we need to respect each other, and wherever we see inequality, be it in Pakistan, be it in India, we need to raise it, even if those are people of my religion. If they are doing something wrong, I need to take up, no, guy, this is wrong. So I think nationalism, what Dr. Abhay has picked up, I really like that, how nationalism is used, how sovereignty is used, how state machinery is used. So this is with very heavy heart, I want to say that we all need to respect human beings and give them equal treatment and not just hiding behind our own biases then when it comes to the other people. Thank you.
Thank you for provide us with a deeper understanding of complex challenges that minority community faced. With this understanding, we can now move to the last speaker, Pushpa Kumari. She is a human right and Dalit activist member, Sindh Human Right Commission, Pakistan. May you proceed now. Thank you for joining. Over to you, Ms. Pushpa.
हेलो एवरीबॉडी। आपने एक बहुत ही अहम मौजू को बिल्कुल टच किया है और मैं आसिफ अकील की इस बात से बड़ी सहमत हूँ। तो जो आसिफ अकील बात कर रहे थे कि हम वी आर लिविंग इन अ बबल, जो बबल जो हमारा है उसको हम पिंच नहीं कर रहे हैं। हम लोग अपने एक सर्किल, अपना एक जो उसको कहते हैं ना कि उसको हम एक रिलीजन की एक वो जिसको हम कहते हैं, आप अपनी भाषा में या हिंदी भाषा में कहते हैं कि उसका एक सर्किल बना लेते हैं अपने आसपास कि हमारा सर्कल यहाँ है और उसको कोई क्रॉस नहीं कर सकता है। जैसे सीता मैया ने एक वो बनाया था बिल्कुल एक, तो वहां से आप नहीं आ सकते थे, लेकिन आपको उस सर्किल को क्रॉस करके बाहर की दुनिया में जाना पड़ेगा। तो आप वहां से फिर आपको ये फेस करना पड़ेगा जो चैलेंजेस मुख्तलिफ आपके स्पीकर्स ने हमें बताए हैं। लेकिन मैं यहाँ पे जो इस पर्सपेक्टिव में बात करूंगी सब कॉन्टिनेंट के, जो सब कॉन्टिनेंट का पर्सपेक्टिव है और यहाँ का जो जोग्राफिकल जो आपकी डेमोग्राफी है उसमें जो है ना आपका कल्चर बड़ा मैटर करता है। उसको हम लोग कल्चर को हम उस तरह से नहीं देख रहे होते हैं कि कल्चर जो है वो हमारा, उसको अकाउंटेबल हम कैसे कर सकते हैं। ह्यूमन राइट्स के या ह्यूमैनिटेरियन ग्राउंड को हम कल्चर के साथ मिक्स नहीं करना चाहते हैं। हम ये कहते हैं کہ یو آر فرام دلت کمیونٹی، یا جو ہمارے جو سب کانٹیننٹ میں 1947 سے پہلے جو سب کانٹیننٹ جو اکھنڈ جو ہمارا تھا، جو اوشن تھا یا ہمارا جو پورا کلچر تھا، اس میں ہم لوگ اس کاسٹ سسٹم کو اس کو ہم لوگ ڈینائی کر رہے ہیں. وی آر ان ڈینائل فیز، کہ ہم اس کو ڈینائل کرتے رہتے ہیں مسلسل، کہ ہم لوگ جو ہے اس کو ایکسپریس نہیں کرتے ہیں. اور دوسرا یہ کہ ہم یہ چاہتے ہیں کہ ہم جو بھی رہ رہے ہیں یہاں اس کانٹیننٹ میں وہ ایسا نہیں ہے. ہم لوگ اس کو یہ کہتے ہیں کہ آپ جو کہہ رہے ہیں بات وہ ایسے نہیں ہے، وہ ایسے ہے. تو جو یہاں پہ ایک رچ پور کی گیم ہے، اور آپ کے جو آصف نے بات کی تھی کہ جو این جی او سیکٹر ہے وہ بھی یہی چاہتا ہے کہ آپ جو ہے اس چیز پہ بات نہ کریں. تو مجھے لگتا ہے کہ ہم لوگوں نے اپنے ارد گرد ہر جو کمیونٹیز ہیں، پھر کمیونٹیز سے باہر نکلے آپ کے جو نیشنلزم ہے، یا پھر آپ کا ریلیجیس ایکسٹریمزم ہے، یا آپ کا فیوڈل کلاس ہے یا فیوڈلزم ہے. یہ جو فیوڈلزم اور ریلیجیزم اور یہ ساری جو 4 یا 5 ٹائر ہیں، اس میں ہم اپنے آپ کو فٹ کر لیتے ہیں اور ہم کہتے ہیں کہ آپ کا جو ہیومن رائٹ، جو بیسک رائٹ ہیں 1 سے لے کے 28 تک، جو ہمیں کانسٹیٹیوشنل رائٹس ملے ہوئے ہیں 1 to 28، جو میں پاکستان 1973 کا کانسٹیٹیوشن کی بات کر رہی ہوں، کہ اس کو ہم پھر اس پیرا میں نہیں رکھتے ہیں. ہم یہ کہتے ہیں کہ 1 سے 28 تک آپ کو بیسک رائٹ مل رہے ہیں تو یہ اتنے کافی ہیں. لیکن آپ کی ہیومن ڈگنیٹی، آپ کا سیلف اسٹیم، آپ کی سیلف رسپیکٹ، وہ اس میں شامل نہیں ہوتی ہے. فریڈم آف اسپیچ نہیں ہے. وی آر ناٹ ہیونگ ہیئر ان فریڈم آف اسپیچ. فریڈم آف ریلیجن نہیں ہے. کافی جگہوں پہ آپ کے کلچر میں، آپ کے بہت سی جگہوں پہ آپ کا فریڈم آف ریلیجن نہیں ہے. تو پھر آپ 1 سے لے کے 28 تک جو بیسک رائٹس ہیں ان کو آپ صرف لے کے نہیں بیٹھ سکتے. تو مجھے لگتا ہے کہ جو اکاؤنٹیبلٹی ہے، جو بات کر رہے ہیں کہ ہم اکاؤنٹیبل، یا جو جسٹس سسٹم ہے اس کو ہم جو انٹرنیشنل جتنے بھی ہماری ٹریٹیز سائن ہوئی ہیں ان کو ہم نہیں دیکھ رہے ہوتے ہیں. ہم صرف انٹرنیشنلی یہ بتا رہے ہوتے ہیں وی ہیو رسپیکٹ مائنورٹی، وی ہیو، ہمارے یہاں مائنورٹیز بڑی رسپیکٹفل انداز میں رہ رہی ہیں، لیکن ہم ڈینائل فیز میں ہیں. وی آر آل، میں یہ سمجھ رہی ہوں کہ وی آر ان ڈینائل فیز، کہ ہم اس چیز کو ڈینائل کرتے رہتے ہیں کہ ہم ہیومن رائٹس کی پرسپیکٹو میں اس کو نہیں دیکھ رہے ہوتے ہیں. ہم کہتے ہیں کہ یو آر فری ٹو گو. جو 11 اگست کی جو ہماری قائد اعظم کی جو اسپیچ تھی، اس کو صرف ہم ایک یہ دکھا دیتے ہیں کہ آپ جو ہے یو آر فری ٹو گو یور ٹیمپل، یو آر فری ٹو گو یور ورشپ پلیسز. لیکن ایسا ہے نہیں. وہ اس لیے نہیں ہے کہ وی آر لیونگ ان آر ببل. تو وہ جو ببل ہے اس کو ہم لوگوں نے توڑنے کی کوشش ہی نہیں کی ہے اب تک. لیکن آئی ہوپ، مجھے لگتا ہے کہ ہم کہیں نہ کہیں اپنی ان مائنورٹی کمیونٹیز کو اس ببل سے آزاد کرا پائیں گے جب تک آپ 1 گلوب میں 1 نیشن یا 1 کمیونٹی نہیں بن سکتے. جب جو میں بات کر رہی ہوں نا کہ رسپیکٹ آپ کے بلیف کی، آپ کے بلیف کی رسپیکٹ جب تک نہیں ہوگی، مجھے نہیں لگتا کہ ہم جو ہے اس طرح سے اکاؤنٹیبل ہو پائیں گے. تو اٹس مائی ویو کہ ہم کوشش بھی کریں، لیکن جب تک آپ گلوبلی ایک دوسرے سے یونائٹ نہیں ہوں گے تب تک آپ کی جو بھی آپ کی اسٹرگل ہے یا چیلنجز ہیں وہ آپ کے اس کلچرل اور اس ڈیموگرافی تک محدود رہیں گے اور آپ وہیں تک ریسٹرکٹ رہیں گے. تو اس کے لیے آپ کو کمیونٹیز کو اسپیسیفکلی اور انڈیجنس کمیونٹیز کو یونائٹ ہونا پڑے گا. وی ہیو ٹو یونائٹ. سو اٹس مائی ویو. تھینک یو.
Thank you, Pushpa. It is encouraging to learn about the different approaches that can be taken to strengthen international justice. I would be delighted to invite Rimsha Shahid, research analyst from SARIM, as a concluding speaker. Over to you, Rimsha.
So first of all, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to the esteemed guest speakers who played a crucial role in ensuring the resounding success of the webinar, which was on advancing accountability and human rights by strengthening international justice for minority communities. Through the webinar, important issues surrounding accountability and human rights for minority communities have been highlighted, emphasizing the need for stronger international justice frameworks for sure. By promoting collaboration and knowledge sharing, the event has taken steps towards identifying practical solutions and fostering a more inclusive and equitable society. Moreover, the webinar has shed light on the impact of systemic discrimination of human rights violation faced by minority community, not within South Asia, but around the globe. By raising awareness of these issues, it has served as a catalyst for change, promoting individuals, organizations, and governments to re-evaluate their practices and policies. The collective effort to strengthen international justice frameworks is a crucial step towards achieving long-distance solutions that address the root cause of injustice and inequality. I would first start with our first speaker, Ms. Cynthia, who eloquently addressed the crucial issue of identity faced by minorities. She emphasized that the Indian government's relationship with civil society is unhealthy and has detrimental effects on ensuring justice for all. She highlighted the concerning fact that India's lobbying efforts with the European Parliament have led to the abuse of the rights of the international community. By addressing this pressing issue, Mrs. Stephen aims to promote awareness and spark constructive dialogue surrounding the plight of minorities. After Mrs. Stephen's insightful discussion, Dr. Abhay Kumar took the stage to share his perspective, focusing the political dimensions of the topic. He pointed out that the state is heavily leveraging the issue of national security, which is resulting in the violation of minority rights, and highlighted the concerning fact that the space for addressing atrocities and advocating for rights has significantly diminished. The state's action are driven by ulterior motives under the pretext of sovereignty. By invoking the concept of national security, they justify and perpetrate atrocities while disguising them as acts of justice. In last, Dr. Abhay Kumar emphasized the detrimental impact of such practices on minority communities whose rights and well-being are compromised in the name of upholding national security interests. Following Dr. Kumar, Asif Aqeel underscored the fundamental significance of justice. He specifically voiced his apprehension regarding the prevailing violation of human rights, not only within South Asian region, but also across the globe. He brought attention to the prevalent tendency of advocating for justice solely within one's own community, society, or nation. According to Mr. Aqeel, this limited approach to justice will fail to bring about meaningful change unless we collectively stand for justice regardless of caste, creed, religion, or ethnicity. He emphasized the necessity of embracing a broader perspective that transcends narrow boundaries and encompasses the pursuit of justice for all individuals, regardless of their backgrounds, for sure. Our last speaker, Ms. Pushpa Kumari, seconded the opinions of Asif Aqeel. She highlighted the tendency for individuals to confine themselves within the confines of what we say, like religion, culture, or societal taboos, creating a limited perspective. Ms. Kumari drew attention to the diversity present in the subcontinent and its potential for fostering inclusive societies. However, she lamented that the region, despite its rich diversity, often struggles to embrace and accommodate these differences, leading to fragmented societies rather than inclusive ones. She emphasized the importance of creating a more open and accepting environment that celebrates diversity. By embracing inclusivity, societies can surely bridge the gaps between different communities, fostering harmony, understanding, and a collective recognition of the value and the contributions of individuals from various backgrounds. So yeah, ultimately the webinar has been instrumental in creating a space for dialogue and learning, encouraging individuals and communities to take action and advocate for the rights of minority groups. By amplifying their voices and supporting their struggles, we can contribute to a world where accountability and human rights are upheld for all, leaving no one behind. We encourage all participants to continue their advocacy for advancing accountability and human rights by strengthening international justice for minority communities. Let us persist in our unwavering dedication to fostering empathy, understanding, and respect through our collective efforts. I again extend our heartfelt appreciation to everyone who contributed to the success of this webinar. Together, we have the power to build a future where accountability is upheld for sure, human rights are protected, and justice is accessible to all minority communities. Thank you once again for your invaluable support and dedication. Stay connected and join us in future endeavors as we strive to create a world where every individual, regardless of their minority status, is treated with dignity and equality. Thank you, Dan. Over to you, Zehra.
Thank you, Rimsha. As we concluded this event, let us remember that the responsibility to advocate for accountability and human rights rests upon each of us. Together, we can make a differences and ensure that minority communities heard, respect, and protected. Let us continue our journey towards a world where justice has no boundaries. Thank you to the collective effort, our esteemed speakers, participants, and the organizer team. We're looking forward to see you in the future. Until then, stay safe, stay informed, and continue to be the agent of positive change. Take care. Bye.